Thank you very much, Julie, and good morning, everybody. Absolutely delighted to be standing here in front of you presenting the findings of my Nuffield Farming Scholarship. And first and foremost, I just want to start by saying a massive thank you to both Nuffield and the Thomas Henry Foundation for giving me what is an absolutely wonderful opportunity and supporting me over the last couple of years in this process. So today you've got two talks this morning about precision technology, and I think that in itself just highlights how important an issue this is for us, for our farms today, but certainly and in the future going forward. And as Julie said, ag tech has been heralded as the single biggest change that we will see in our agricultural systems in our generation, causing fundamental shifts in how we manage our landscapes around us, how we manage the farms that we run, and how we actually manage ourselves as well. Last year, the ag tech industry was worth about 25 billion. That's a 10-fold increase since 2013. So we're seeing rapid growth in this sector. And that very much follows what is happening in the industry today, whichever industry you work in. If you simply look at the number of connected devices, such as a mobile phone or a tablet that are there in the world at the moment, by 2020, we expect to see 6.6 connected devices for every single person on the planet. We are going technology mad. We're getting really surrounded by technology and sensors. So for me, my question was, within the dairy sector, how do we actually make the most of that value? Can we capitalise on this current technological revolution? And if we do, what do we need to do as an industry to maximise the value that we get back from that? So over the last 16 months or so, I've been visiting Australia, New Zealand, France, the USA and the Netherlands to ask some of those questions. So where can dairy capitalise on this technological revolution? Well, in my mind, we can work smart. We can really build on progress that's being made in other industries. Think about what we measure now on ourselves day to day. The fastest growing market in technology is the market of wearable devices. Your Fitbit, your heart rate monitor. I'm sure some of you have apps on your phone for measuring sleep activity, or the real food conscious of you are doing your calorie counts every day on your phone. A lot of what we actually want to measure on ourselves, we also want to measure on our dairy cows. So we can measure things like mobility, we can measure feed intake, we can measure blood components. And all of the technology that we want to use in dairying, we can, and some of the ones that we used previously, we found foundations in other industries. So there's certainly opportunity for us to work smarter and capitalise and build sensors, taking the learnings from other industries. For me, as Julie said, I'm a scientist, and so the advent of sensors to measure things is just excellent. If we think about the variability that we have across our agricultural systems, like any biological system, they are complex. My job is to try and find some order within that chaos. But think about the landscape you farm and the variability across that landscape. The plants that you grow in your field, and we've seen some really good yield maps yesterday, the animals that you manage and you put in that environment, and the one we'd all really love to control, the climate as well. All of those are inherently variable in their own self, and there's a lot of variation there that we have got to try and get a handle on. For me, sensors provide the key to that. They give us the first step, because we can actually start to measure that variation. From then, we can go on towards understanding it. And there are some excellent sensors being developed out there, both in research at the moment and on commercial farms as well. This was Duncan McDonald, 2017 Australian Nuffield Scholar, and he has gone from measuring grass manually using a plate meter across a 500-acre dairy grazing platform to using a drone to do the same thing in 30 minutes. So using reflectance imaging, he's capturing the variation in grass growth across his farm on a weekly basis in 30 minutes' time. That's pretty impressive. And taking that technology forward, there are researchers in New Zealand looking at technologies now and imaging to measure pasture quality. So the image on the left that you see is a pasture quality map for crude protein, and on the right, it's metabolizable energy. And that technology itself really helps us figure out how we manage our inputs, such as nutrients, into our systems, but it also helps us figure out how we manage the cow and how we manage her nutrition going forward in a dairy system. And if we think about the animal herself, I think the most promising technology that's coming out in the past couple of years, and we're seeing research across the USA, Netherlands, Australia in this area, is GPS, location devices for animals at pasture, being able to understand actually their movement patterns and the environment in which they're interacting. And that opens the door for technologies such as virtual fencing, managing cows without a physical barrier, purely through GPS, and managing them in that pasture environment. But sensors are great, and they're fantastic for me in a research environment. How do I actually use those on farm? Really lucky to stay involved with our family dairy farm, 160 cow dairy farm in West Tyrone, small beef and sheep enterprise. So it's your bog standard farm. From 2002, we've invested in a little bit of herd management software, heat detection a bit later on, and finally, in the last couple of years, dibbed and dabbled in robotic milking. All technologies that have been out there for 10, 15 years. But for me, last year, quick calculation, 2016, when I integrated all of those technologies together, we produced 65 million data points per annum. That's too much for me, even as a scientist. That is colossal. What I do with that as a farmer, how do I find order in that? How do I manage that data? And really, how do I use it to make sure I'm getting maximum ROI from the investments that we've made? And I think the image that we're sold in terms of precision agriculture is a great one. Meet Farmer Bob. He's got his driverless tractor. He's laid back. He's getting his silage brought in with his tractors. He has drones measuring his pasture quality and his pasture yield. And he's got his robotic milker controlling his cows. So he's got the flat cap off, the welly bits have come off, and baler twine has come out of the pocket. Life is good for Farmer Bob. For the rest of us that are actually dealing with technology in real life, sometimes it looks a little bit more like this. And I'm sure a few of you can manage that, can associate with that. So how do we really reap the value out of technologies on farm? Because currently, we're certainly not doing it. For me, the biggest challenge and the biggest barrier that I've seen across the world is skills development on farm. That's not only hindering, that skills gap is not only hindering adoption of technology, but also the use of technology. If we look at adoption, 45% of UK farmers said actually a lack of computer skills is what is acting as a barrier for me to investing in precision technology. And certainly farmers that were using technology around the world, when you talk to them, they were very comfortable with computers. It was clear that they were confident in using and interpreting data. And most importantly, they were willing to make that move from an intuition-based decision to a data-driven decision. They were comfortable using data to make a decision. And that is a very important characteristic that anybody using technology has got to embrace. But even those farms that were actually using technology, how are we really valuing, making sure we're getting maximum value from it? A lot of farms actually were quite confused. Somebody told me about a herd management software. I'm not sure what the best metrics are to measure against. I look at what the salesperson told me. Somebody else said, my herd fertility is good now, talking about a heat detection system, but I'm not sure what it is like before. These really just highlight the confusion that's there when we're going through that technology adoption and technology integration process. And I think it's the old adage, we're always taught you've got to measure to manage. But for me, we're fools if we think that just by investing in technology, we're automatically going to get and guarantee better management. That doesn't happen, and it's not happening because there is a massive skills gap there. And we need to recognize that the skills that we need tomorrow are changing. Rebecca, who is a robotic farmer in Australia, said, we are now finding that the skills you would wish for on a conventional dairy farm are not necessarily what is needed here. Most important to us is having people who have good computer skills, are flexible, and want to learn how to use the data. After that, dairy experience is useful, but it's not top of the list. So I would put a question to you, be it either as a farmer, as an industry. How important do you think technology is in your business now? And I guarantee you, if it's not very important now, it definitely will be in 10 and 20 years with the sensor development that we see. And I would ask yourself, if you haven't got skills there in the business to currently make use of that, where are you going to get those? Are you willing to invest in it? Are you willing to train people? Because it is a skill set that we will need going forward. And it's not only farmers, we need to look at industry as well. Marvin was a robotic farmer that I met in Illinois. He said, the more support we can get, the better our management will be. Our previous nutritionist didn't want to engage with the software, and so we have moved to someone who is already certified with that technologies training program. There's a huge opportunity for us there in the industry to go out, develop those skills, and actually act as a support for farmers. And a really good way of making sure we've got those people coming through is to really challenge our education programs to really deliver more in this area. The Smart Farm Learning Hub was an initiative at the University of New England in Australia, and that was all about linking technology and students together. They basically provided research data collected from technologies on a daily basis on an online platform to any primary school, secondary school, college, or university that wanted to engage from it. Right from the get-go, on a daily basis, students were learning how to run a farm system based on data alone. And that was a hugely valuable skill set that they will need going forward. Finally, the last barrier that I just want to highlight, and there are many barriers, I couldn't cover them all off today, but the last barrier I wanted to highlight in terms of harvesting value from technology is that lack of data integration. We looked at that slide initially and we said landscapes are variable, animals are variable, plants and climate are variable, but actually they don't operate in isolation. They very much interact with each other every second of every day. And then we've got Farmer Bob in the middle of it trying to make sense of it all. So for me, we need much more emphasis on building systems which allow for better data integration. That's something we're trying to tackle in Northern Ireland at the minute, building a precision grassland platform, a £2 million investment in bringing together data from sensors based in the plant, the animal, in the ground, in the soil, and bringing in data from the climate as well. And we're using that as a research function to really understand how we can maximise value from those technologies. But we're also creating an integrated network of connected farms, pulling data from them to say, where is the value in big data? How can we as scientists help farmers manage the data that they are collecting on farm and really reap value out of that? So just really to finish, for me, technology development, we're in a really exciting time in the agricultural industry. Like it or not, we're going to get pulled along by developments in other industries, and our industry will become much more high-tech. And that really provides us with the opportunities to improve our understanding and hopefully in the future our management of dairy production systems. However, to capture the true value of these precision technologies, for me in the industry, what we need to do now is be placing much greater emphasis ourselves on our own farms and in the industry in terms of progressing skills development, looking at initiatives like the UNE Smart Farm, and also exploring how we can integrate data better, calling for easier systems for data integration, both on farm and in research, to really maximise the value of the data that we collect. Thank you very much.